Good morning from Lille, and welcome to the Interreg Europe webinar series on project development. This week we started with Monday, talking about successful partnership. Yesterday we talked about designing project methodology. Today is Wednesday, and it's today dedicated to finances. Today we are talking about management, budget, and finances. My name is Irma. I am head of communication unit and will be your host for today. And let's have a look quickly on what is on our agenda today. So today, as mentioned, we are talking about the budget. There will be several videos we will be watching together about how to build a successful budget. We will go through also specific budget lines and we'll discuss what cost categories are in the Interreg Europe program. So there will be several videos we will watch. At the very end of the webinar, we will watch the video related to the external expertise costs. In between the videos, we will have question and answer sessions, and I have my colleague together with me in the studio. It's Camille today with us, who will be answering your questions live. Good morning, Camille.
Good morning, Irma. Good morning, everyone.
Nice to have you here, Camille, in the studio. Are you ready to answer all the questions we already received and we will be receiving about the budget?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great. Camille is here in the studio to answer the questions live. We also have two other colleagues from the finance unit together with us today who will be answering your questions in written in Slido. It's Ilaria and Ruta who are with us today to answer your questions on slido.com/project development. This is the tool we are using today during this webinar, and you can submit and send us your questions that will be afterwards picking live in the studio or answering them in written. Together with us today, we also have several colleagues from communication team, Josephine, Petra, and Mia, who are behind the scenes helping us to run this webinar today. Now, as you know the practical details, you know what is waiting for you for the upcoming 1 hour and a half, as we will be finishing this webinar around 11:30. So you know what is coming up. You also know how to submit your questions. And now it's time to invite you to watch the first video about the successful project budget, where our colleague Ramona will be talking about the subject. And immediately after the video, we will be back in the studio together with Camille to answer your questions.
Hello, my name is Ramona. In the following minutes, I will give you general information to help you prepare the budget of your project. If you got this far, then I assume you already have identified your project idea and the partners that you will work with to take on your common challenge. Now, the activities that you jointly define should be the foundation that you build your budget on. On a general level, you should know that an Interreg Europe project usually receives an ERDF co-financing of 1 up to 2 million euros. This budget correlates with the dimension of the partnership, the duration of the project, and the activities and responsibilities allocated to each of the partners. Ideally, they should all have a say in the preparatory stage of the project, so make sure to involve them ever since the beginning. There are several types of partners that will participate to your project. They will have individually allocated budgets based on their roles. These are aspects that will influence the budget. It is no surprise that among the project partners, the lead partner, the appointed lead partner, usually has the largest share of the budget. This is mainly due to the fact that it also has to coordinate and ensure the overall project management. An advisory partner will not address any policy instrument. However, it is most probably that they will perform cross-cutting tasks. These tasks reflect their expertise and interest in the policy field. This means that they also will have individually allocated budget. So this type of partner will also have allocated budget correlated to this special role. In cases where more partners address the same policy instrument, savings are expected at partner level because responsibilities in relation to the policy instrument are shared. Depending on the legal status of the EU project partner, the ERDF co-financing rate disbursed by the Interreg Europe program is of 80% for the public bodies and the bodies governed by public law and 70% for the private non-profit bodies. Interreg Europe program is open to potential partners from Norway and Switzerland as well. They are not eligible to receive ERDF funding, but their national authorities pre-allocated funds to support their direct participation in our program. Norwegian partners may receive co-funding of up to 50% of their budget. Swiss partners need to contact their national point of contact in order to get detailed information about the Swiss funding opportunities. The remaining 30 or 20% must be provided by the partners themselves, either from their own budget or from other sources that can be either public or private. In any case, a partner declaration is required in order to demonstrate their commitment to provide their own contribution. A project's budget is organized following 6 cost categories. A successful application will receive an additional lump sum to cover the preparation costs. The cost categories are the subject of a specifically video design, so I will not get into details here. However, I will spoil the surprise my colleague has for you. We fully embraced the simplification efforts, and office and administration and travel accommodation cost categories will be reported on flat rates of 15% applied to the staff cost category. As in the previous program, there is no request to further distribute the budget on components or work packages. There is also no possibility to report share cost on activities among the project partners. Only the contracting partner will budget, actually pay, and report 100% of the expenditure of joint benefit. A new feature of our program that stems from the new regulation is that VAT is eligible irrespective if it is or not deductible for the partner organization. Even if a lot has changed for the better or for the simpler, we still have costs that we will not accept and you should not include in your budget. We specifically refer to in-kind contributions. So, the provision of works, goods, services, land or real estate for which no cash payment has been made, such as unpaid voluntary work, are not eligible. I believe that we can all agree that staff costs of personnel working in one of the partner institutions are not unpaid work. So this expenditure is safe and belongs to the staff cost category. Our communication team will support the projects in this programming period as well. You will not need to plan budget for the project website, the project's main visuals, or the design of the poster. Your communication strategy or plan should not include also gifts or giveaways, prizes or awards, as they are not eligible in the Interreg Europe program. Your financial reports will be verified by independent controllers. For some of the partners, the national authorities will provide these services for free, but in other countries, the project partners will have to pay for the verification of expenditure. This cost item is eligible and should be included in your budget. Country-specific information is available on our website, so make sure to check it. Your spending plan depends on the activity plans in the application form. If an activity is carried out close to the end of the reporting period, the related payment may only be possible in the next semester. The costs should therefore be budgeted in the following reporting period. The project spending plan is important because the monitoring activity, our monitoring activity, is based on it throughout the project implementation. You should plan carefully your spending plan in the application form because if you fail to comply with it, then the budget may be decommitted and you may lose part of the funding. Most often, we see that spending of projects starts slowly and increase over the semesters. Now you have the general framework to help you prepare the budget of your project. Thank you for watching. I do hope that you found this information both useful and helpful. Good luck with your proposal.
Thank you to our colleague Ramona for presenting, former colleague indeed, Ramona, for presenting the main tips to prepare a successful project budget. Camille, before we go to take the questions, I suggest that we launched a poll, and because we prepared 2 questions to our webinar attendees related to the information that Ramona presented. And the 2 questions are as following. What co-financing rates are applicable at Interreg Europe? And there are 3 answers: 80% for all project partners, 70% for all project partners, or 80% for public partners and 70% for private non-profit organizations. And the second question we have: do you need to include costs for project logo and website design in the budget? Yes or no? Two simple questions. And I can see that our participants are very active answering those two questions. And Camille will soon comment and tell the right answers. Yes, we can say that 70% of all participants already submitted the answer. So I think it's time to stop the poll and to check the results. So Camille, for the first question, we have 23% say that it's 80% for all project partners, 3% say that it's 70% for all project partners, and 74% say that it's 80% for public partners and 70% for private nonprofit organizations. Which answer is correct?
Well, Yoma, the majority is correct. The ERDF co-financing rate in Interreg Europe is 80% for public authorities or bodies governed by public law and 70% for private nonprofit organizations. These are the ERDF co-financing rate. As Ramona was saying in the video, the program also allows partners from Norway and Switzerland. I also take the opportunity to remind this because Norwegian partners are not eligible to ERDF, but they receive Norwegian funding. And even though part of this Norwegian funding was already committed in the first call, there is still remaining funds. So Norwegian partners are welcome to participate in the second call. And Swiss partner receive Swiss funding. And since we didn't have any Swiss partner in the first call, maybe we will get one in the second call.
And Camille, the second question we had was related to the cost for project logo and website design. And do those costs need to be included in the budget? Yes or no?
No, this cost should not be included in the budget for the simple reason that the project's website and the logo are provided by the program.
Thank you for clarifying this. And I think now all event participants know what are the co-financing rates, and they know that project logo and website design should not be included in the project budget. Let's have a look what questions were submitted on Slido, and we have several of them. So let's answer those. Thomas, for example, is asking what budget the advisory partner should have.
Well, thanks for this question, Thomas. It's an important question because it allows me to clarify something that I am sure I will repeat several times during this webinar. As such, there is no specific budget for advisory partners that they should have. What is important is that the budget plan for these partners is in line with the activities that they will take care of in the project. And this principle is important not only for advisory partners, but for all partners. But coming back to advisory partner, it's true that these partners don't address policy instrument. So in a way, their activities can be a bit less intense in certain regards. But at the same time, what we usually see is that these partners come with a certain expertise on the topic of the project, or they also are in charge of some cross-cutting tasks like communication, coordination for the whole partnership. So what is important is that their budget reflect both their involvement in the partnership and the activities they will be in charge of.
Camille, Marit is asking, she's wondering whether you have an Excel template for the budget required for the application.
No, there is no Excel template for the budget. You will fill the template directly in the portal, which is our monitoring system. So no.
Uh, how do you plan the budget during the phase 2? For example, the final dissemination event is not going to be paid?
I think this question was maybe asked from someone who participated in our previous programming period, since they refer to phase 2. Now, what was before phase 2 is called the follow-up phase. And how do you plan the budget for the follow-up phase? In the end, the same way you plan it for the core phase, meaning that you plan it according to the activities that will be organized during that phase. For the second part of the question regarding the dissemination event, I mean, costs for dissemination events are eligible, of course, even if this event takes place in the follow-up phase, as far as the costs are paid before the end date of the project, of course, but they are eligible.
Benoit is asking if you could provide further guidance on project spending forecast. Let's say that events are organized in the middle of a semester. Is it realistic to report all costs in the same semester?
Thanks, Benoit, for this question. It's also an important one. We often receive questions on the spending plan and how to prepare it properly. What we usually see in terms of spending forecast is that the expenditure that projects are able to report starts slowly at the beginning of the project, increases over the semesters, and then reach a peak towards the end of the core phase. This is, let's say, the sort of natural curve of the project spending that needs to be considered. But of course, what is most important is that the spending forecast, the spending plan of the project is in line with the activity that you will plan for each semester. So of course, if there is one semester where activities are more intense, will be more intense, it should be reflected in the spending plan. As for the second part of the question, if the event is organized in the middle of the semester, it's a bit hard to provide an answer for everyone, because it really depends on your organization. It depends on the procedures, how long payment the process takes in your organization. So I think this is something that each partner organization needs to assess and see how it works internally, to see if an expenditure that is paid in the middle of the semester will be paid out in the semester. So it's a bit case by case, depending on each organization.
Camille, this next question, it's related. If there are some funds that are unspent from a semester, can they be relocated for future semesters?
Yes, so what we expect, of course, is that the spending, the reality of the spending is as close as possible as the spending plan. This is also something that we will monitor when we will receive your progress report. But of course, if some funds are not paid or not spent in one semester, they can be used in another semester.
Marit is asking us which kind of documentation is needed for the co-financing of 20 or 30%?
Well, there is no documentation needed as such for the program. As it was mentioned in the video before, the co-financing rate applying at the program depends on the legal status of the partner organization. And this is something the member states check. So this is also the opportunity for me to remind or mention that in case you have a doubt, you can always contact your national point of contact to check this. But yeah.
Two questions related to the preparation costs. And the first is the preparation cost only eligible for lead partner or also partners? And the second question sounds, what type of cost can be included in preparation costs? 17,500 lump sum. If the main preparation cost consisted of staff work, can the staff paid from the preparation cost, or this amount can be transferred to staff costs?
These are very important questions related to the preparation cost. First, it's important to have in mind that the preparation costs are included automatically in the budget of projects that will be included in the expenditure of the lead partner of approved projects in the form of a lump sum. This means that we are not checking, we're not asking for specific documentation to prove which activities took place during the preparation phase of the project. At the moment the project is approved, this lump sum of 17,500 euro will be included in the project budget. It can cover costs linked to the preparation of the application, but we will not ask for proof of the activities. So this is something internal to be discussed. And for the second question, yes, it's included in the expenditure of the lead partner, and it will be paid to the lead partner with the first progress report. But what we expect is that this amount is shared in the partnership to reflect the actual involvement of each partners in a fair way in the preparation of the application form. So this should be included in the partnership agreement, the way this lump sum will be shared among the partnership. But yeah, to be very clear, it's allocated to the budget of the lead partner, but we expect this amount to be shared.
Camille, let's take now the last question before we watch our videos on the cost categories. And this question is, several indeed questions. Does the lead partner control the budget of all partners, or do they receive the budget themselves? When do we receive the budget for the travel and accommodation cost? Does the lead partner pay in advance, and in later stage he gets the money back?
Okay, a lot of different questions. First, there is no advance payment. So it means that expenditures and the ERDF related to the cost engaged is reimbursed afterwards. Every 6 months, projects will submit a progress report to explain the activities that took place during the semester, and will also report the cost paid and engaged during that semester. So there is no advance payment. This is one thing. If the lead partner controls the budget of all partners, and if partners receive the budget themselves. So as I was saying, at the end of each semester, project will have to submit a progress report, including the activities and the costs. We will check it at secretariat level. And when it is approved, it's true that it's the lead partner that will receive the ERDF corresponding to the amount reported. And then it's the responsibility of the lead partner to share this amount, to distribute this amount in line with what is reported in the progress report to each partner. So each partner will receive their share according to what they reported by the lead partner.
Okay, good. We answered many questions already now after the first video. Now, as promised, we will be watching the video on the cost categories, and we will cover the cost categories in the first video as staff cost, administration, travel, and accommodation. I could also see that in the chat there were several questions if presentations will be published, if recordings published. So it's a quick reminder to tell you all that this webinar is recorded and the recording will be published on our website. The ones who attend today will receive a short message from us with a notification and direct link to the recording. And also you will be able to watch separately the videos we are showing today, as they are already available on our website. So now with this, let's watch our video on cost categories related to staff, administration, and travel and accommodation costs.
Hello everyone, my name is Ségolène and I'm going to talk about the different cost categories available in your budget. So if you want to know more, you can have a look at our program manual, section 6.1, 6.2 and 6.3. So there are 6 different cost categories in addition to the lump sum of preparation cost in Interreg Europe budget. In this first video, I will talk about preparation cost, staff cost, office and administrative expenditure, and travel and accommodation. So let's get started with preparation costs. Preparation costs are all the costs that you need to prepare your application form, and it will be directly included in the lead partner's budget. It is a lump sum of 17,500 euros per project. This means that would be 14,000 euros in case the lead partner is from an EU member state, and then it will be 8,750 euros if the lead partner is from Norway. But then you might wonder, what should you do and how will you get the lump sum? Well, it is easy. The lump sum will be received only for approved projects. Then it will be directly included in the lead partner's budget, and it has to be shared among the partnership depending on the involvement of each partner during the preparation of the application form. You can see that there will be only a budget for this cost category in the lead partner's budget. You should also have in mind that no supporting document will be needed when reporting. Now, next cost category is staff costs. So staff costs usually represent the largest share of the budget, and indeed, because project partners are usually the main beneficiaries of the project. So it refers to the gross employment costs, and only for staff members employed by the partner institution and directly working on the project. In order to plan your staff cost budget, you should have in mind the following question. So, which project activities will be carried out and how many employees will be needed to carry them out? Then, which percentage of their time will they need to dedicate to the project activities, and what is their monthly gross employment cost? You should also have in mind the project duration, which is 4 years for all, and with the 3 months closure. So then for the calculation of staff cost, there will be only one possible method. It will be with fixed percentage. So this means that the project employee could either be working at 100% at full time, or it can also be working at part-time, but with a fixed percentage. Let's take an example. So in practice, a partner organization could decide to have 2 employees working on the project. And we'll say that each employee has a gross employment cost of 3,500 euros. So if the first employee will be working at 60% on the project, then the gross employment cost would be 2,100 euros per month. Then if the second employee will be working at only 30% on the project, the gross employment cost will be reduced as we multiply per 30% and we get 1,050 euros per month. So that would mean for this partner a monthly staff cost budget of 3,150 euros. Then you can multiply it by 48 months to get the total project duration, and we have a staff cost budget of 151,200 euros. Now, next cost category is office and administrative expenditure. For this cost category, it concerns all the general administrative expenses of the partner organization. So it can be for office rents or stationery or postal services, for example. But you can find a list of all the detailed costs within this cost category in the program manual. So these costs are covered by a flat rate of 15% of staff costs, and they are directly calculated in the application form, so automatically. So what you need to make sure is not to plan any cost in this cost category within another cost category. So now, to finish for this first video, we'll talk about travel and accommodation. This cost category includes costs such as travel, accommodation, of course, but it can also be for meals or daily allowances or visas. And it is only for travel and accommodation of the staff members. So the travel and accommodation costs for associated policy authorities or stakeholders should be planned under external expertise and services. As you might have noticed, there is a change for the travel and accommodation cost comparison with the previous programming period. So indeed, now travel and accommodation costs can be covered by a 15% flat rate of staff cost. However, some partners can also decide in the application form to choose the real cost basis, but they will have to provide a duly justified reasons and explanation. So, in practice, in the application form, all the partner will have to choose between the flat rate and the real cost basis. And if partner chooses real cost basis, they will have to explain, because the flat rate is the option recommended by the program. On our side, we expect that almost all partners will go for the flat rates, and only for specific geographical situations, such as the outermost regions, that real cost basis would be chosen. Why should you go for the flat rates? First of all, the 15% flat rate is in the regulation. Then, the program also carried out statistical analysis on the real travel and accommodation costs reported by the partner from the previous projects, to see whether a 15% flat rate would be enough to cover the travel and accommodation cost. And indeed, this statistical analysis showed that a 15% flat rate would be enough for almost all partners. Then it is also simpler. This is a real simplification. So when you will be preparing your application form, you won't have to estimate the travel and accommodation cost, as they will be automatically calculated. And then when reporting, it will be also less time on the control, and no supporting document will need to be provided. So that's why, with all these advantages, we expect almost all partners to go for the flat rates. Thank you very much for watching this video, and we invite you to watch a second video to learn more about the remaining cost categories.
So now, our colleague Ségolène talked about preparation costs, staff costs, office and administration, travel, and accommodation. Camille, I suggest we launch a poll to check how our webinar participants understood what the travel costs and flat rate means. And then we will take the questions live. So the question to our webinar participants is, what does the flat rate for travel and accommodation costs mean? There are two answers. We don't need to provide all travel tickets if flat rate option is chosen. And the second option is we get fixed amount for travel and accommodation, but still need to provide hotel invoices and travel tickets. Yes, we can see that everyone is very active, choosing one of the two answers. And as most of our participants already selected the answer, I think it's time to check what are the results. So Camille, 80% of the ones who answered say that they don't need to provide all travel tickets if flat rate applies. Is it true?
Yeah, again, the majority, the 80% of participants who answered the first answer are correct. As mentioned in the video by Ségolène, the flat rate for travel and accommodation is really a big simplification. because you don't need to provide a supporting document to prove your trips. You will get 15% of the staff cost reported. So no need to provide and to keep all single metro bus ticket invoice from the hotel. This is why we encourage so much our partner organizations to go for the flat rate. Actually, experience from the first call shows that 99% of our partner organizations went for the flat rate. And of course, we are very happy with this because, as we said several times, it's something that is really there to simplify the life of our beneficiaries. And for the only 1% that didn't go for this flat rate, it came from very specific geographical locations. That is the justification we can accept not to go for the flat rate when partner organizations are based in remote area like outermost regions. But yeah, otherwise partner organizations should go for the flat rate.
Camille, I don't know if you noticed, but while you were talking about the simplification and the flat rate for travel and accommodation cost, there are many hearts, likes on the screen. So I think it's a good sign and it's well appreciated by everyone, I guess, who has experience in involvement in interregional cooperation projects.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a look now to Slido to see what questions we received. Livia is asking us, can administration costs be included in the budget? If so, can we hire someone to carry out administration tasks?
Yes, thanks Livia for this question because it allows me to clarify something important. What we mean and what was presented in the video by administration cost are the costs, the general administrative costs related to the running of the organization and to the participation in the project. So there is a list of the cost included in this cost category in the regulation and also in our program manual. To give you a few examples, it covers, for instance, the rent of the premises, IT maintenance system, archives, stationery, this kind of cost. It's different from the general, let's say, running of the project, the administrative part of the coordination part of the project. So these are two different things. And so, yes, you can hire someone to carry out the administration task of related to the project, but what we call the administration costs are covered in the form of a lump sum related of a flat rate, sorry, linked to the staff cost reported. So it's important to have this distinction in mind.
Camille, Victoria is asking us, can staff of the associated policy authorities be financed?
Associated policy authorities do not receive funding. However, their travel costs can be covered by the main partner in the project.
If you choose 50% flat rate for travel and accommodation, do you still have to prove your cost within tickets and invoices or not? This question we already answered, and it's very easy. The answer is, Camille,
no.
Yes. The next question we can take, you mentioned to have in mind the project duration while calculating staff costs, 4 years plus 3 months for closure. Is there the possibility to include the staff expenses needed for project closure that happens after the project end in the budget?
Thanks also for this question. Again, important thing to have in mind. As you know, the total duration of the project is 51 months. So 4 years and 3 months for closure, as you mentioned in your question. And cost will be eligible until the end date of the project, meaning until the last day of this 51 months. Any cost that will be incurred after this will not be eligible, cannot be reported, so should not be planned. But of course, cost that will be paid during the running of the project, during the implementation of the project, can be, of course, budgeted.
Camille, is there a recommended percentage of staff cost in the project budget?
There is no recommended percentage as such, because it's, of course, it depends on a lot of variables, the number of people that will be involved in the project, the number of partners. But what we expect to see is a high share of the total budget attributed to staff cost category. And the reason is that we expect the staff of the partner organizations to be the main beneficiaries of their participation in the project. So there is no amount or percentage that we expect, but we still expect a high share of the budget allocated to staff costs.
Now our next question. How should we plan the budget of the core phase, considering that we do not know at this stage if we have to develop an action plan or not?
Thanks for this question. It's an interesting one. First, this is something I mentioned already, but how should we plan the budget of the core phase or of the follow-up phase or the budget of the project at all? It's really in line with your activities. Then, of course, at this stage, you don't know yet if you will have to produce or not an action plan, but I would like to emphasize the fact that it actually doesn't matter a lot in terms of budget, because we anyway do not expect you to plan cost for the development of the action plan. The reason is that maybe this question was asked from someone with the experience in the previous programming period and having in mind what was expected as an action plan in the past. But now in this new programming period, if an action plan should be developed, it will be a simple, quite straightforward document that will actually be integrated in the progress report. So this should not be something that should require extra resources. So even if you don't know yet at this stage whether you will have to do it or not, it doesn't really have an impact on your planning of the budget.
Camille, Marit is asking us, where should the travel costs for associated partners be placed in the budget?
It should be planned under the cost category external expertise and services, but there will be a video on this. Don't worry, you will have more information. But cost for external bodies, so stakeholders, associated policy authorities should be planned under the cost category external expertise and services.
Indeed, Camille, there are more questions we received, and several of them are related to the video that we will be watching now. So I propose that first we watch the video about external expertises, equipment, infrastructure, and works costs. And then after the video, we are back in the studio with Camille, and we will be answering questions related to that budget categories. So let's watch then now the second video.
Hello, my name is Ségolène. It is the second video on cost categories. In this video, I will talk about the external expertise and services cost category equipment, and infrastructure and works. So let's begin with external expertise and services. Under this cost category, you should plan all the services that are needed to implement the project activities, but that come out of the partner organization. An important program recommendation to have in mind is that this cost category should not exceed more than 50% of the total budget, because the main beneficiaries of the project should remain the project partners. Then it is also important that all the costs that you plan are linked to activities planned in the work plan. So in practice, to plan your external expertise and services cost, you will have to go in section F.2 of the application form, and you will have to provide more information. First of all, you will have to indicate who is the contracting partner. Then you will also have to indicate the total amount of the service, and you will have to select among a list of predefined types of costs. If you don't know which type of cost you should select, and if you simply want to know more, then you can have a look at our dedicated video on this topic, which is available on our website. So then in practice, you will have to select a predefined type of cost, and for most of the type of cost, the description box will be pre-filled. Then if the description is editable, please be as precise as possible. So now back to more general advice. So if you have people working on the project but are not directly employed by the partner organization, then the cost should be planned under external expertise and services. We know, for example, that some partners rely on in-house staff members to implement the project activities. For these, there are two possibilities. So if the staff are working from an affiliated company who is a complete different legal entity than the partner organization, then the cost should be planned under external expertise and services. However, if by in-house you refer to staff working in an internal department of the partner organization, and that there is no separation of legal entity, then the cost should be planned under staff cost. Let's move to the next cost category, which is equipment. So it is mainly equipment costs for office equipment. So it can be bought, rented, or leased. It can be, for example, a laptop for a partner or some software to organize online meetings. So for the equipment cost, it should not exceed 7,000 euros per project if there is no pilot action. However, if there is a pilot action, then we understand that there can be some more specific equipment needed and the total cost can be higher. In practice, to plan your equipment cost, you will have to go in section F.3 of the application form, and you will have to provide more information. So you will have to indicate who is the contracting partner and the total amount of the cost. And you will also have to select in a drop-down menu what is the type of equipment. So it can either be office equipment or pilot action. In case this is office equipment, the description box will be pre-filled, so there's no need to indicate anything else. However, if it is pilot action equipment, the description box will have to be filled with more precise information, so on the equipment needed and on the link with the pilot action activities. So now let's talk about the last cost category, which is infrastructure and works. This is a new cost category for Interreg Europe, and it can be used only when you have a pilot action planned. Based on the experience from our projects who had pilot actions, the pilot action costs could be covered by the equipment or the external expertise and services cost categories. So we expect project partners to use this cost category rather exceptionally, and it can be, for example, to finance some labor costs or materials for some small-scale infrastructures linked to the pilot activities. So you will have to provide more details in the application form. You will have to indicate who is the contracting partner and also indicate the total amount of the cost. Then in the description box, you should explain what are the materials or the labor, for example, the labor works needed for the pilot action. You should also clearly explain what is the link with the pilot activities. Thank you very much for watching this video, and we invite you also to have a look at our program manual to learn more.
So Now we are back in the studio with Camille, and we will be taking your questions submitted via Slido. So let's have a look, Camille, what questions we have. Yes, okay, very popular question, and 3 people voted for it. It's on the top, so we'll take it first. Can you please say a few words on the flexibility rules, especially relocated unused external expertise and services to staff costs?
Yes, it's true that it's usually a popular question. We receive a lot of questions on the flexibility rule. So this 20% flexibility rule exists and allows you to reallocate expenditures from one cost category to another. However, it's important to keep in mind that a maximum of 20% of the individual partner project budget can be reallocated, meaning that it's not possible to increase by more than 20% the individual budget of a partner. But within cost categories, so for instance, as in this question from external expertise to staff cost, there is no limitation.
Henry is asking, do we need to list employees in the application form?
No, you don't need to list employees who will be working on the project in the application form. You, of course, need to know when you are planning the budget, how many people will work on the project to plan the staff cost and the project budget accordingly, but you don't need to list them in the application form.
Can you please confirm that translation costs to ease the participation of local stakeholders are eligible cost, and is there a limit on how much partners can set aside for this cost item?
Yes, translation costs are eligible under external expertise. It's actually something that is mentioned in the regulation, in the description, in the list of costs covered by this cost category. So yeah, we see that sometimes translation costs are needed to facilitate meetings, especially with local stakeholders. So I confirm the costs are eligible under the cost category external expertise and services. There is no limit as such. It's the same advice that I already mentioned several times. You need to see what will be the need, how many meetings you will organize for which you will need translation services, and to plan accordingly.
Camille, is there a maximum budget for external expertise?
Yes, we do not expect more than 50% of the budget to be allocated to external expertise and services. The reason is that, as I already mentioned, we expect staff from the partner organizations to be the main beneficiaries of the exchange of experience and of the participation in the project. So no more than 50% of the total budget should be allocated to external expertise and services.
Henry is asking us if we could provide some examples of infrastructure and works costs that could be financed by the program.
Yes, so as mentioned in the video by Segolen, in case there is a pilot action, some cost under infrastructure and works could be eligible. For instance, we had in the past the case of a pilot action in which an organization wanted to install smart benches in a park, so benches with interactive information about certain things in the park. And so for this, for instance, the costs related to the materials needed to install the benches and the work could fit under infrastructure and work cost category.
One more question related to pilot actions. What if we decide to go for pilot actions during the midterm review? Does that mean that additional budget will be allocated by the Secretariat at this stage?
So if you decide to apply for a pilot action during the midterm review at midterm, we will assess what is the spending situation of your project. If, for instance, the project has not spent all their budget in the previous semesters before the midterm and is underspending, and this underspending could cover the cost related to the pilot action, then the pilot action could be financed like this. If it's not the case and the project is in line with their spending plan, then additional funding could be indeed granted by the monitoring committee when approving the pilot action. But what is also interesting to note from this question is that in any case, if you plan to apply for a pilot action at midterm, then you don't include cost for the pilot action when you at application stage. It will come later, and we will assess the situation of your project when we will be there at the midterm review.
Camille, one question from someone who is experienced with the previous program about the timesheets. And the person is wondering if there are still the timesheets, and if yes, how they will be filled.
So, as we mentioned several times, we are always trying to simplify life of our beneficiaries. So now there is only one method to calculate the staff cost, which is a fixed percentage. So it means that there is no need anymore for timesheets or to fill timesheets. With the fixed percentage, you just need to define at which percentage the staff will be involved on the project activities, and to fill document stating this percentage, but no more timesheets.
Again, hearts and likes go to the program for deleting the time sheets. Next question. Can external expertise cost be for project management and project communication purposes?
Yes, of course, if needed. Cost related to project management and communication management of the project can be planned under external expertise if these activities, this task cannot be carried out by internal staff of the partner organizations. Then an external expert can be contracted to carry out this task.
A related question from Kate, who is wondering, is it common that lead partner subcontract a communication agency for all communication aspects of the project?
It depends. Usually communication activities, I have the feeling, are quite done internally. Sometimes what we see is that if there is an advisory partner in the partnership, it happens quite often that communication task and coordination of the communication activities at partnership level are carried out by the advisory partner. But again, it really depends on your project, on your needs, on the situation in your organizations. So if it's not possible for this task to be carried out internally, whether it is by the lead partner, by the advisory partner, or by any other partner, an external expert can be contracted to support the project with communication activities.
Camille, in the video, it was said that the duration of the project, we have to consider 48 months. And life, it was said 51 months, 48 plus 3. So which is the correct option?
So thanks for this question, because yes, it's an important aspect. So the total duration of the project is 51 months. Because you have 4 years, so 3 years of core phase, 1 year follow-up phase. And then you have 3 additional months related to project closure. When you plan the budget, of course, we don't expect a lot of costs to be planned for during the closure period, because as it's stated in the name, it should be related to closure. Administrative closure of the project. So there might be still staff from the lead partner organization involved exactly in these closure tasks, but the activities as such of the project, the exchange of experience, the monitoring of the results will happen in this 48 months.
Mhm. And Camille, can you give an insight? What is the maximum budget that could be requested for a project with 4 partners?
Well, there is no maximum or minimum budget as such related to a certain number of partners. As we usually say, our projects range from 1 million ERDF to 2 million. But so it really depends. When you plan your budget, you need to take into consideration the number of partners involved, the activities that you will be carried out, and of course, as I was saying before, the duration of the project. So these are the elements you need to take into account and then come up with a realistic budget in line with these elements.
Anne has a question about the pilot actions. Do we have to include the relevant cost in the project budget, or do we have to establish and submit a separate budget for the pilot?
Everything is included in the project budget. So if you apply for a pilot action at application stage, you will see that you will only have to fill the project budget, including the costs related to the pilot action. So there is no separate budget specifically for pilot actions. Of course, in certain cost categories like external expertise and services, equipment, and infrastructure and works, you have a specific type of cost, some items for the pilot action. So we are able to identify the pilot actions from these items. But for staff costs, for instance, it's filled with we don't see any distinction. Everything is included in the amount inserted in this in the staff cost category.
Camille, do the staff of the partners need to have a contract with the partner organization before the approval of the project, or they can be hired once the project is approved?
Both options are possible. It again depends on the needs of the partner organization, but it's totally possible to hire staff specifically for the project task when the project is approved.
A person in charge of the financial management of the project should be included within the staff budget line, or he is supposed to be included within the office and administration budget line?
No, we had a question also similar a bit earlier. All costs related to personnel working on the project hired directly by the partner organization should be included in the cost category staff cost. Office and administration cost, again, it's a flat rate of 15% of the staff cost that is there to cover general administrative cost of the partner organization, like the rent, IT system, this kind of stationery, this kind of cost. But personal cost of persons employed by the partner organization and working on the project should be included in the staff cost budget line.
Camille, we take the question about the timesheets, and then we will watch the last video related to the external expertise. So talking about the timesheets, again, someone experienced with the program saying that during the previous programming period, we needed to justify our we declared for each person. So we needed to write essays stating what each person did. What will this happen now? Thanks.
So when you report the staff cost, you will need to prove several things. You need, of course, to justify that the person is employed by the partner organization, as I was also saying before, at which percentage this person is working on the project activities, and also what activities were carried out in the semester. When it comes to what the controller is asking specifically, this is something that is a bit case by case because it also depends on the controller. So this is something to be checked directly with them.
Thanks, Camille, for this answer. And now it's time to watch our last video, very short video. It's about 3 minutes. And in this video, our colleague will present you external expertise costs. And after this, we will be back to take your questions live.
Hello, my name is Ségolène, and I'm going to present the different types of cost under the External Expertise and Services cost category. When planning your external expertise and services cost, you will have to go in section F.2 of the application form, and you will have to select in a drop-down menu the adequate type of cost for each expenditure. So I will go one by one for each type of cost. The first one is for exchange of experience, the meetings. So it corresponds to all the costs for organizing the meetings, the local stakeholders meeting, but also the partners meetings. It can be for catering or for room rental, for example. So for this type of cost, the description box will be pre-filled, so there's nothing more to indicate. You just need to make sure that the costs that are planned are linked to the project activities planned in the work plan. Then the second type of cost is exchange of experience, travel and accommodation for external bodies. So this type of cost is used for travel costs for externals, so it can be for associated policy authorities or, for example, for stakeholders. So when estimating this type of cost, please be as realistic as possible. Then the next type of cost is exchange of experience, external support. And it can be used for support coming from external companies or consultants to implement the project activities. So the description box will be editable, and you will have to provide more information on the type of support provided and on which output or activity it is related to. Please be as precise as possible in the description box. The next type of cost is pilot action. It refers to the cost for external providers to implement the project activities related to pilot action. So the description box will be editable, so you will have to provide more information on the type of support needed and on the link with the pilot activities. So now for communication, there are two different types of cost. The first one is communication events. So it refers to all the costs for the organization of local dissemination events or interregional events, and the description box will be pre-filled. So the other type of cost for communication is communication materials, and here you will have to provide more information in the description box on which materials you plan. And finally, there are two different types of cost also for management. The first one is management external support, and it refers to all the costs for external project cooperation or financial communication management. And the description box will be pre-filled. So you just have to have in mind, for example, the number of working hours or the daily or hourly fee of the external support. Then for management verification of expenditure, the costs concern the cost for external controllers to verify the eligibility of expenditure. For this, you have to take into consideration that there will be 8 reports to control and to certify. So now you know everything about the different types of cost and which one you should select in external expertise and services cost category. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to read also our program manual.
So with this last video on related to the project budget, you really know now everything about the project budget. But in case you have still some questions, we are here with Camille today to answer them. And we have still 20 minutes left till the end of our webinar. So I really would like to encourage you to submit your questions now so that we can answer. And let's have a look then to the Slido. Yes, in Slido, we still have several questions, and let's take them, Camille, to answer. We are asked, do the costs of an external consultant have to be encompassed in the staff cost? I mean, someone not employed by a partner, but just hired for a project. For example, a project manager. Do the partner need to sign a specific contract with him, her?
So from this question, I understand that we are talking about the possibility to contract an external expert, here a project manager supporting the project. So if this is the case, if an external expert is contracted, of course, the costs have to be planned and then reported under the cost category external expertise and services. Yes, contract is usually signed for this kind of agreement.
Should the external expertise be subcontracted through open tendering, and can those subcontractors be private for profit organizations, private for profit organizations too?
Yes, in general, external experts, subcontractors need to be contracted in line with public procurement rules.
And they can be, and it can be that those organizations are private, right?
Yes.
Carmen is asking, what shall we plan on office equipment when there is no pilot?
Well, you shall plan what you need. Again, what we can see under office equipment is usually cost for softwares, for instance, to carry online meetings, or a laptop, webcam. There is a list in the program manual of the cost eligible under office equipment, so you can go there. But yeah, again, you plan basically what you need for the project, and the list is in the program manual of the cost eligible under office equipment.
And basically, if you don't know what you need, probably then there are should be no cost related to that. Camille, you just also answered the question of Christian, because he was asking where should I plan costs for online software for meetings and Zooms, and you explained that it should be planned under the office equipment.
Equipment, yes.
Yes, yes. Sandra is asking. Sandra is asking about the project budget. 1-2 million euros are to be considered for project 4 years or per year.
No, this range from 1 to 2 million euro is for the whole project duration, so for the 4 years.
Kate is asking, do all partners have to foresee a budget for the 3 months closure or only the lead partner?
Well, it depends, but again, we don't expect a lot of budget to be dedicated to the closure. Of course, all partners could plan some small costs related to the administrative closure due to the specific coordination role of the lead partner. Of course, we can expect maybe a bit more cost related to projects closure on the lead partner's budget, and this is also why I was taking this example before. But it depends, of course. But yeah, all partners could plan some small budget if needed for related to the administrative closure.
When planning the staff cost, should we take into account 48 months as project duration? Is it correct?
Yes, this is also linked to the previous question. Project activities will really be carried out during the 48 months. So this is where you need to plan budget for staff costs working on the project activities. Then, of course, and this is also linked to this example of the lead partner in charge of the coordination of the project, and so also of certain specific administrative tasks related to project closure, then some small staff costs could be planned for this, but the main activities of the project will really take place in these 48 months. We actually don't expect activities at all in the closure phase. As it's called, it's really for administrative closure of the project.
Camille, how many staff per partner is normal approximate estimation? Obviously, as we know, this all depends on the nature of the project.
Yeah, it's really hard to say because it really depends. You can have one person working on the project. In some organization, you will have more, especially if one partner organization is in charge of specific cross-cutting tasks. So there is no normal number, let's say. It really depends of your resources and the resources you want and you can put on the project. So this is something to be evaluated when planning the budget of the project, of course, but there is no normal number, let's say. Can be one, can be two, can be more in specific cases. Yeah, it really depends.
Camille, someone who has experience with our program already goes one step forward and asks about the reporting.
Yes.
Will we still have to provide our financial reporting through the OL system, or this will be another system?
No.
The OL system is the system to provide the progress, indeed, reports in the previous programming period.
Yes.
So,
you can forget about IOF. In this new programming period, we have a new monitoring system that is called the portal, and this is where you will fill your application form, and this is also where later on the reporting will happen. So everything in the portal now.
yes, I can see someone is scared, but I hope when the time comes really to report, we will get likes and hearts, because our team invests a lot of energy and time to improve, to make your reporting easier than it was before. As you could see, some improvements there are also on simplifications. So we hope that this you will also feel with the submission of your progress reports. And I could see the first heart flying for us. Okay, let's check the other questions. Josephine is asking, can the travel and accommodation for external consultant be planned in the category of external expertise costs?
Yes, travel and accommodation of external bodies. So whether it is the stakeholders, the associated policy authority, or external experts or external consultants. So any person that is not employed by the partner organization, then this cost should be planned under under external expertise and services.
Several questions related to the control, and let's take now them. For external verification of expenditures, do we need to provide our own external controller, or does the European Regional Development Fund asks for a specific controller? How indeed it works?
So you need to have an independent controller. Then depending on the system applying in your country, you might be able to contract an external controller from a shortlist, or you have a controller directly assigned to you, or it could be an internal controller in some cases. It really depends on the system applying in your country. So I invite you to check on our website. You have a page dedicated to country-specific information where you can find all information related to the system applying in your country, and see what are the requirements that you need to take into account for this.
Yes, on our website, you go to the section in my country, and there you find all information relating to the specificities of each country, and then you know which system applies. The other question related to the control is, so the first level control of the body follow-up phase, can it be done until month 48, right?
So as I was saying before, the project activities should be carried out until month 48, and then you have 3 months related to administrative closure of the project, during which the verification of expenditure of your last progress report can take place.
Camille, can university lab or research groups be contracted to carry out surveys or specific studies and budgeted under the external support expenditures?
Yes, this is possible as far as public procurement rules applying in the country and in the partner organization are respected.
Is there a maximum or minimum budget per partner percentage?
No, there is not. Again, the same principle applies, that when you plan your partner budget, you need to take different variables into consideration: the number of people that will work on the project, the task that you will carry out, and the resources you need to put to carry out this task. So there is no maximum or minimum budget in terms of percentage. What we usually see is that the lead partner has often the biggest share of the budget due to their coordination role in the project. But for the other partners, there is no maximum or minimum budget we expect. Again, what we expect is that the budget is consistent with the activities planned.
Camille, is the in-house consultant considered staff cost or external expertise cost?
So if by in-house consultant, we are talking about a person that is supporting the partner organization, but is working for a different legal entity than the partner organization, then the cost should be planned under external expertise and services. The cost category staff cost is really for partners that are employed directly by the partner organization listed in the application form.
One more question related to the universities. Does the university research needs to be only as advisory partner in the consortium, or can additional universities be subcontracted and as external expertise?
It depends. University can be an advisory partner if this is justified in your project. As I was saying before, they could also be contracted as far as it's in line with the public procurement rules. It really depends on what you need and what you want to do. But again, if the subcontractor needs to be contracted in line with public procurement rules.
Thank you, Camille, for this clarification. With this question, indeed, I have good news for you that we answered all questions that were posted today during this webinar. And it's time now to conclude our webinar of today. First of all, I would like to ask our participants to give us feedback, and you will see a poll open. So please let us know how you liked our webinar, or what improvements you see. Tomorrow we run one more additional webinar on communication, so we can see if something can be taken on board. In relation to the project development, now on the screen you can see what tools we are providing as the program. We have the self-assessment tool. We have also a link on our website where you can share your project idea, where you can easily find all projects that were co-financed, a tool where you can find the partners if you are looking some of them. There is also a link to the form where you can submit your project idea to us in case you need a detailed feedback and you wish to get a detailed feedback from us before submitting your application. And the last button, apply for the call, if you click on it, you will get all the summary of information related to the second call of proposals with all the terms of references and all the links and all the events and support we organize to support you. And let's have a look indeed what is coming next. What is coming next now on the screen, you can see that from the lead applicant webinar week, today is already Wednesday, so we were talking about the finances, and tomorrow is Thursday, and we will be talking about the project communication. So here in the studio you will meet communication team, and we will give you tips on how to prepare your project communication strategy and what activities to plan. And again, colleagues will be there in the studio to answer all your questions related to communication. In addition to the last webinar that is coming tomorrow, we also offer you online question and answer sessions, and those ones are on the 5th of May, 17th of May, and 2nd of June. So in case there are some questions that come to your mind related to the budget or communication on any other topic, you can submit those questions online while registering to one of the upcoming online question and answer sessions. And then in the studio, we have our colleagues live answering those questions. Camille, probably you were participating in some of those question and answer sessions, right?
Not yet, but it's coming. You'll see me again soon.
So voila, it will be an opportunity to meet Camille in one of our coming Q&A sessions. And the last practical details to communicate to you, to thank you first of all to you for your active participation, to sending us all the questions related to finances today. And I also would like to take an opportunity to thank you to Camille for being here with me in the studio and answering all those challenging questions. I see the hearts and applause and many cards and many applause are for Camille. It's also time to thank for colleagues that were answering questions in the chat, to Ilaria and Ruta, and also for communication team members who were supporting us to run this webinar, to Mia, Petra, and Josephine. Thank you very much to everyone who joined us today. Give us feedback if you haven't done it yet, and I really hope that tomorrow you are again together with me in our studio, me in the studio, you connected online, and tomorrow we can discuss my favorite topic about, communication. So have a good day today and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.